would you work for someone that you consider to be a racist? And again, you're entitled to your opinion. Here's why we're asking. Rush Limbaugh wants to own the St. Louis Rams, but some comments that he's made in the past may get in his way of doing so, because many African Americans, among others, many African American football players, in fact, are coming out today and they're saying that they believe that he is racist. Limbaugh is a big football fan, and for a very, very brief time in 2003, he got a commentator's job on ESPN. He lost that job after he suggested that Philadelphia Eagles quarterback Donovan McNabb was overrated because he's black. Here's what he said. He said, "The media has been very desirous that a black quarterback do well. There was little hope invested in McNabb, and he got a lot of credit for the performance of this team that he didn't deserve." By the way, I should let you know that McNabb has now turned out to be a legitimate NFL superstar quarterback. Limbaugh's perceived racist diatribes are too many to name, but here's a sampling. He once declared that slavery built the South. "I'm not saying we should bring it back. I'm just saying it had its merits. For one thing, the streets were safer after dark," said Limbaugh. He recently also said in President Obama's America, white children get beaten up on school buses by blacks. He said that after watching a school bus fight that the rest of the media generally treated as just a fight between two kids. He described it as such. Now, here's the problem for Limbaugh. 65% of the players in the NFL are African American. Not surprisingly, Donovan McNabb has come out and said he's not interested in playing for Rush Limbaugh. Neither are some of the other players that I'm about to name. New York Jets linebacker Bart Scott, he says he could offer me whatever he wanted. I would not play for him. I would not play for Rush Limbaugh. New York's defensive end Matthias Kawanica, says, "I don't want anything to do with a team that he has any part of." Eugene Mercury Morris has played for many years in the NFL, played for 8 years. He was a fabulous running back, I should add. He is as passionate in his discourse as he is articulate, and he's here to tell us what he thinks about this. This story's just kind of crept up. I mean, when it was conversation that he wanted to get a team, I think a lot of people said, okay, you know, another guy who wants to own a team. But now that all these NFL players are coming out today and saying this, the story is really taking a different sense of relevance. What's your take, Mark?
Well, two things. When I first came down here, I think that Miami was 15% Hispanic. And now I think it's around 70 or 80. And at last, it's reflecting where we are. I went to an affair last night for the Latino owners of the Dolphins, and that just goes to show you the kind of progress that's occurred. Now, on the other side of that pancake, you have what we're talking about now, which is the Rush Limbaugh debacle. I disagree with Reverend Sharpton respectfully, because I think the guy should be given an opportunity. You say you want to go out there and you want to own a football team. Okay, go out there and see what that actually means to own a football team. I don't see him as much as a racist, as he makes racial remarks, but I see him more as a bigot. And a bigot is someone who, regardless of the facts and evidence in front of them, they still go their own way. And I think that
so you think he should be you think he obviously, well, nothing would stop him from being an NFL owner except perhaps the person who's selling him the team, right?
Well,
or the commissioner. The commissioner of football could say, no, we're not going to allow you to own a team, right?
Well, I don't think that the commissioner would be that dumb to put in place a circumstance where he's going to deny something because of race. In war, it says we tend to become like that which we oppose. The last thing you want to see is now players coming out and saying that I'm not going to play for this guy because he's a white guy and he's a racist.
But shouldn't a person, Merck, have a choice? And you and I have choices as regular citizens. I didn't have to work at CNN. When CNN came and offered me a job, I chose it because I think this is one of the best media networks in the world, if not in the United States, and I feel good about it. But if I thought that CNN was a prohibitive, racist place that discriminates against Hispanics, I could have chosen to not work for them. NFL players are drafted from the college ranks. Congress has essentially said in the antitrust rulings that if you're drafted by Team X, you have to play for Team X. You can't shop around and go play for another team. Unlike you and me, they have to play there. So is it different in the NFL?
Well, I don't know if that is an actual, because not Peyton Manning, but Eli Manning, he was drafted by the San Diego Chargers, and he said, hey, I don't want to play for the Chargers, so they ultimately traded him to the Giants. So it's not set in stone, but I think that the mantra of individuals trying to put themselves in a position where they're going to make a declaration that they're not going to play for the guy because of his racist views. I would be more apt to say, if you want to own a team, go out there and see what it's really like to be in the trenches with these guys now. When I played, it was the league pretty much looked like society. It was 75% white and 25% black. If you look at the pictures from every team back then in the early 70s when I played, you'll see that same kind of relationship. But over the years,
well, let me tell you how Rush.
changed.
Let me tell you how Rush describes the NFL. This is interesting. You gave me an opening here. Quote, Rush Limbaugh. He says, the NFL is all too often looking like a game between the Bloods and the Crips without any weapons. Can players, can the NFL, would you feel comfortable playing for a man who describes you or your ilk that way?
Well, you know what, Rick? The answer to that is that when you look at what he said and how he said it, it actually makes some relevant sense. He's just saying it in a smart way. Let me say it to you in an educated way.
Okay.
In 1965, I graduated from high school. The top 3 problems in the country were running in the hallway, talking in class, and being late. Now, 1985, the top 3 problems were teen violence, teen pregnancy, teen drug use. 2005, it's still the same. So a whole generation of young people have grown up under the stigma of the Crips and the Bloods, and some of these people are playing in the NFL now. So you can't actually take away from that gene pool that they have to choose from, because it's what society has to offer them. And running in the hallway, talking in class, and being late did not produce teen violence, teen pregnancy, and teen drug use. So the people that they draft now pretty much fit that kind of concept of where they're coming from. Now, how they act when they get there, it's another thing. But you can see the change in the people that have been drafted, because that's the choice they have in society. That includes doctors, lawyers, and anything else.
The Merc doing his best Bill Cosby impersonation. Interesting. In defense of Rush Limbaugh, this will get picked up, I guarantee you.
Hey, I want him on there because I want him to see what it's like. You know, you can drive a NASCAR and say, I like to get out there, but you put your butt in that seat and get out there with everybody else. Then you get to see what it's really like, what you're talking about you want to do.
Exactly.
And I don't think he's going to really understand that. He's walking into a bee's nest here with these young brothers who think racism is when you don't get to go into the NBA when you're 18. You got to wait till you're 20. That's not racism. Racism comes from where I grew up in the 1960s, like Limbaugh did. But it's a different set of circumstances out there, and I would love to see him jump in the middle of it. The Washington Redskins was a segregated team until 1962.
Eugene Mercury Morris, the pride of South Florida and the pride once of West Texas State University.
All right, thanks, man.
with the little eagle feathers on the shoes and such. The wings,
on
right.
the helmet.
All right, Merc, thanks a lot. We'll catch up.
You got
with
it, Rick. All right.